We got your
Got
person
your
in
person in the
the
cat.
cat
Ugh,
This
I
is
don't have any
hilarious.
water on me.
Because
What's weird?
the last time we recorded, at least it was like in person. So, it's
Yes.
easier to manage. Whereas now it's like back to this. Also, we haven't done this in a minute.
I,
So there's also that.
I, I, I don't know, man. Post COVID, not like post COVID as in COVID has ended, but post COVID as in the world is now behaving like COVID has ended.
Yeah.
I cannot stand these virtual interactions. Like, I need humans. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm currently on maternity leave, still gonna be on leave for some time, and I have not been around other adults for a full day, like in terms of being in a space where I'm being intellectually stimulated
Yeah.
since March 2020.
Oh my God.
I'm not okay.
That
Like,
is a
I'm not
lot.
okay.
That is a
I'm
lot.
not okay. I know myself. I know myself on another level because I've been without like all the other, subtle and covert human influences that we experience by hanging out with other people.
Yes,
But
yeah.
every time I'm around other people, I'm like so overwhelmed. I
Yes.
don't
Oh
know
my
how to
God.
interact.
Yeah.
I yeah, I just feel like my social cues are completely off. I just daze off, look out. And yes,
Yeah.
I just don't know how to socialize anymore.
No, I feel
It's a
you.
difficult.
I feel you. And then at the same time, like once I'm done socializing, I feel horrible when I have to now like be solo. And I'm like, that's all you ever was. Like, why are you? And like I feel
Why do
miserable
you miss people so
when
much?
I then have to go on the Twitter app and then like I'm just like browsing through and I'm just like, this cannot be my
I
life.
literally went back onto Twitter because of
Yeah.
boredom, and I can't wait to leave.
Yeah.
I can't wait to leave. Like, I can't wait to be back at work and just too busy
Yeah.
for social media on that level.
I did that the other day.
Because
I did
I'll
that the
tell
other
you now.
day. I came back onto
Mm,
Twitter because I was like, I'm a little bit bored. Like, yeah, of course, obviously my plan is to like come back once I'm done. But like the more I've been sort of like coming back bit by bit, I've just been like, I don't know, hey? Like,
bored,
I don't think I can do this. Like, even if I do get bored, I'll just have
bored.
to find something else to keep me busy because
Same.
I am tired of your opinions. I'm not saying
But
they're
I
unnecessary, but
know
I'm tired.
I know from when
Guys, if you
I
hear my
know
mom
from
speaking, I'm
when
sorry.
I was what's this? Sorry. When I yo, how many times did I say when I ain't, guys, I've got cottage brain.
That goes.
I know. I know from when I was working before I fell pregnant, that I literally did not have enough time to be on what you might call this online. So I know when I go back to work, I'm
Yeah.
actually gonna be okay. Like, I won't miss Twitter at all.
Yeah, no, I thought I missed it because obviously, like, I'm just at home with my parents and my brother, and like, it's a bit boring. Like, all I do is I wake up and I just do my thesis, and I wake up and I do my thesis. And so I thought, let me just go back on the timeline, and I literally was just like, because I'm not on my Instagram, so
Yeah.
I've just been like, actually, no, and I don't even want to go back on Instagram either. I think I'll just like post once in a while and just log out, and then post once in a while, just log out because I'm like, I
Because
don't
also
think I
you
can
still
do that.
wanna, like, you don't want to be perceived, but at the same time, you still want to get your thoughts out there. It's
Yeah,
weird. It's like
yeah,
I don't really care that much about what you guys think,
yeah.
but at the same time, I want you guys to know what I think.
Yeah, I want you guys
It's
to
a
know
very
what's
weird
going
place
through
to
my
be in.
head, like by my stories, like you can be able to tell. I may not be able to. I may not be
It's a
saying it.
very weird place to be in.
It's
It's a
very
very weird
strange.
place to
It's
be
and then to still on top of everything have a whole podcast also. Like every time I'm like, I don't want to be perceived, and I remember I'd have a podcast, but I'm like, obviously it's different avenues,
in.
and we interact differently. I'm interacting directly with you, but not necessarily with the
Yes,
listeners.
yes, with
Um,
everyone.
exactly. So, I guess it's kind of different in that sense. I'd much rather do this. Like, I'd happily be off the grid. And oh my God, guys, you're gonna hear my mom hollering like when she speaks on the phone. It's literally, she just like, they can hear you. But I'm right by their room, basically. Anyway, how are you doing?
Man, I'm tired. I'm like, I think we had a powwow before
Yeah.
this. I'm really tired. Realizing how much support I need.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of support, like getting a lot of support in terms of getting a lot of time off on the weekend.
Yeah.
But I think today, like when you leave, it's so weird leaving the house, like leaving it messy and coming back to it messy. It's
the
just
worst.
that's when your world just falls apart.
Yeah.
That's when you just like, what? Like, what? This is still here. So I think I had one of those moments. Like I'm trying to leave the house a bit more, trying to like go to the mall, go for a walk.
Yeah.
With the baby, just so that she's very used to outside, likes people, but just not see the same thing every day. Because I think I'm also very bored. I think I hit the 4-month mark and I was like, this is so boring. Like I am dying. I want to go back to work. I want to, like I've never been this bored and this tired, but at the same time, I'm not as tired as I was like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I feel way more refreshed. I have like a social life again. Shout outs to my dad and Yoza, who have been really, really helping me with that in terms of keeping the baby on the weekend. Like yeah, I'm in a weird place where it's like I'm tired, but I'm not as tired as I was before. And I'm just trying to map out all the resources that I need to allocate to make sure that I don't burn out.
Yeah.
Which means I definitely need to get like a live-in helper.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's one of the big realizations.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And you?
I am exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm like right at the end of my thesis writing. And it's coming together really well. Every now and then I get hit by like bouts of anxiety, but I honestly think it's because of like all the caffeine and energy stuff that I take. I don't really think it's like anxiety.
Yeah, caffeine and anxiety.
Yeah, like I don't really think it's like anxiety from like, oh, this is ending. I'm actually like, yay to this ending. At the same time, my word, my mom is so loud. At the same time,
I can't hear her, eh?
Can't you? Okay, no, as long as you can't hear her. At the same time, I'm trying not to like channel the excitement. Mostly because I feel like I will burst. I will combust. I'm going to blow up if I feel too much, because it just feels like there's just so much. Like there's just so much tension from just this whole process and just everything else that's happening.
Yes.
I remember the other week I was so impatient. I was like, oh my God, like why is everything so like, just feels like everything's going wrong. And I realized like everything went wrong like just now. It wasn't like 6 months ago. It was like 2-3 months ago. And so I think there's also just that where I'm like, there's like that mounting sort of tension from everything that's happened. From the person who I don't wish well, I still don't wish them well.
Wow.
That's not going to change for a minute. That is something I probably will say every single episode, and y'all can get tired
of it. Out, girl.
Y'all can get tired of it all you want to. My journal is not enough. Everyone must know.
Get it out, girl.
Everybody gotta know. If y'all go tell her, even perfect, but better. If I could tell her in person, I would even do it anyway.
I don't want you to tell her in person.
Yeah, no, because it's gonna be a mess. But yeah, like it's just been a roller coaster of emotions. But like emotions, I'm kind of like trying to suppress at the moment because I'm like, I actually don't have the time. I'm like, I don't have the time. I don't have the space. I need to just get this done, and that's it. But at least it's coming together. It's getting there. I'm about like 5 days away. Ideally, it's actually like 3 days, but I'm not gonna put myself under that much sort of pressure.
Mm.
But I'm doing okay. I'm very homesick. Literally cannot wait to be back in Cape Town. I'm just like so looking forward to that. I think being at home has been nice, but everything must come to an end.
Yes.
There's a time for everything.
Your own spice.
I want my own space. I want my own things. Again, I miss my Nespresso machine. Like I haven't had a cup of coffee, like Nespresso coffee, in like ages. And just like the basic stuff. I miss my balcony. I miss my garden. I don't even know what it looks like right now. I don't even want to think about it, because I'm like, I have not touched that hand in like more than a month. I miss so many things. I miss my fit sack, like just sitting on there and like lazing about in my room, like basic stuff that you don't really like, that you don't really think, you would miss. So yeah, just trying to get through this entire process.
I get you.
But we're almost there. The fight is almost at the end. Yeah. What are we talking about today? We all over the damn place.
So today we're talking about the power of perspective, which I think you just sort of got into there now with how you were talking about how realizing that actually everything fell apart just recently.
Yeah.
So it's okay to still feel like everything's falling apart, even though you're actively working to get out of it.
I really had to step outside of myself.
Yes, and see, but okay, things are happening. Like I may feel stuck, but things are happening.
Exactly.
And I think we lose sight of that quite often. But it's so difficult to have or to fully employ the power of perspective when you feel like you're in the thick of it. It almost feels like somebody is gaslighting you when they try paint the bigger picture, when you're literally like being burnt by that little sun in the corner and you can't see the rain or like that pregnant cloud on the other side of the page that's coming to cool you down. Like you're just like, hey, yo, this is what's happening to me right now. I don't care about how or why XYZ is doing this or why XYZ is happening. All I care about is the happening. And I feel like that can be very valid, but it's not helpful.
No.
Like that's a shitty thing. Like
it can keep you stuck. If you don't watch out, like you can be stuck.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a time in my life where you learn certain language, you learn the power of words, you learn the power of acknowledging certain experiences, you learn the power of rooting those experiences in systems, and then somehow we stop the learning and we get stuck on like the this might be the wrong term, but I don't know if it's pathologizing or what. Sorry, I have pregnancy brain, so I'm not as articulate as I wish I could be. But when we do this thing where things are happening in our lives and we zoom in like on what's happening to us and we have all this language to perfectly explain what's happening to us or think that we're perfectly explaining it, and then we forget about everything else that affects what's happening to us, and we forget about how we then affect people around us while the happening is happening to us. And I think like that can be, I think we've had this conversation before where we speak about how embarrassing it is when you get out of a depressive episode and you realize that, oh shit, I shut so many people out. Oh shit, I was so shit to X, Y, and Z. Oh shit, I literally lacked so much gratitude in terms of A, B, C, and D, or oh shit, I was just so horrible to everyone who was trying to help me. So like things like that, I feel sometimes, obviously not all situations can wear this hat. Please, disclaimer,
Yeah.
But I feel
Hey.
sometimes
This is
losing a
that,
job.
that reminds me of that tweet that say you can tell someone has been on Twitter for X amount of years because of the disclaimers. Because
And like
the
it's
other
so
day,
shit that
y'all was
we
doing the
must be so
most.
hyper aware.
Yeah, and I'm
That we
like,
must be so hyper
I
aware
actually
that
don't.
like you can't even.
And it's honestly just like I don't give a fuck about your little situation. I actually don't give a fuck. I actually do not care. I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry even. I
Yeah.
don't care. It's gotten to that point where I'm actually like, you know what? I don't want to account for you and your situation. Like I don't want to account for you and your situation. I'm very sorry. When I'm
I
speaking about
get you.
me, when I'm speaking about me, I'm speaking about me. And that's it. Like obviously there's a way in which we do these things, and like sometimes you know there's courtesy, and then there's being uncouth, and you know there's so many things. Like it's layered,
Mm.
this thing, right? Like it's not black and white, it's not cut and dry. But I think even us on the receiving end, you know, I can't imagine being in the thick of things, and I am in the thick of things, right? Like which thank goodness for isolation and just like not perspective, because I mean
Mm.
sometimes I don't really have that. But thank
Tough to
goodness.
have perspective. That's why we're having this chat.
It's tough. Like I'm glad that I can not step outside of myself, because it isn't always the case, but there's a sense of let me not make this someone else's problem. Like sometimes it hurts me.
Yes. I think that's what we lack.
Yes,
That's
like
what
I
we
think,
often lack.
and I think we're very like cut and dry about it. Like it's either I don't want to make this everyone's problem, or I'm gonna make this
Mm.
everyone's problem. And there's no like middle ground, and there's no sense of when do I make this someone else's problem and when don't I? And we don't
Yes,
really
yes.
get to stop, you know, in the midst of the thick of things. We don't really give ourselves that time to sort of stop and go, okay, wait, what
Whose problem
about,
is
yeah, whose
this?
problem is this? Like,
And what part of this problem belongs to me, and what part belongs to others, and what part do I need help with, and what
yeah,
part do I need to own the most? Because
yeah,
I think that's where we mess up.
yeah.
There's no wrong in feeling like you could use some help with chewing something.
Mm-hmm.
But when you then expect people to spoon feed you within that issue, and you're not courteous in terms of how you request this assistance, then
Yeah.
you're gonna make the problem bigger.
Yeah, you are.
You're
Because
gonna
now
make the
it's
problem bigger.
it's gonna be a very obvious cry for help, but the way you are going about it is just so like is so yeah, like just out of pocket, or just not even unnecessary, right? Like it's all necessary in its own little way. But it's just so like unnecessary, man. I mean, I can think about the breakdown of my relationship with the person I don't wish well, and how
Mm.
it really all was just a cry for help, in a sense, because it's deeper than that. Um,
Mm. Mm.
and how in that cry for help there was an almost like not pushing away, but like and almost orchestrating a
Mm-hmm.
situation
I
where
think I lost you
you
there.
oh did you hear me, Neil?
I can hear
um
you. I can hear you.
okay.
Yeah. Technical
I think
difficulties.
in that when you're in the thick of things, there's an almost like orchestrating of situations where you get to then be proven right. We do that as people.
Yes.
We orchestrate situations that we don't want, but it builds our narrative, right? A narrative we may not
Mm.
like, that we don't want to necessarily be stuck in or whatever, but in that moment you're just there, you can't help it, I guess, whatever.
Mm.
um and so yeah, wow, my mom is so loud, guys, but if
I
you guys
literally
can't hear,
cannot hear her.
if Sniper can't hear her, then we save. It's just very distracting. But yeah, like I think that example of the tweets from the person who was talking about, every morning my husband and I would chill at the garden, blah blah blah, before we go to work, and just kind of how it was received was very,
Yo.
my word, guys.
Yeah, that lacks like I think it's that thing of looking at the world from a comparative, or being a person who operates from a comparative lens, and then thinking that everybody who communicates out to the world is doing the same. Because that lady wasn't communicating with anyone. She was literally sharing an experience of hers. And the way it was received was so, you can say it was wild, but at the same time, it was like a testament to how lonely we are and how we've moralized our loneliness, and how at the same time, it's very difficult to individualize loneliness, right? Because there are certain people who are more likely to be lonely by virtue of certain ways in which certain systems are set up. For instance, they are, you can say there are women who look a certain way, who the world receives in a certain way, who are more likely to be lonely because of that. Right? And at the same time, while acknowledging this, it is still important then to say, what is the solution to this? Is it us antagonizing a lady who is just sharing her experience? Actually, that was very weird language that I used there, because I said a woman, then I said a lady. And that already, that's very weird language. Sorry about that. A woman who is sharing her experience, or do we continue to speak about why certain people tend to be more lonely than others? Because at the same time, I like, for people who the world is set up in a way that they will always get the short end of the stick, I understand their anger, I understand their angst. But at the same time, it's like you lack perspective if you're going to take it out on an individual who has not been snarky. Because that woman didn't say, oh, what are the single people doing when I'm chilling with my husband? Do you get me? She just shared that experience. It wasn't punching down on anyone. Whereas if that was worded differently, some of the responses would have made sense. But I was just like, we are in trouble, guys.
Yeah, that was very troubling.
That in order for them to experience joy, others must forfeit their own experiences of joy, then there's something very wrong in the world.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Or others must not share their experiences of joy, then there's something very wrong in the world.
Yeah, I mean, not even experiencing, sharing that experience of joy. Like, forget the experiencing; it's already done, right? They're experiencing, but that they cannot share. It's just, we really, really, really definitely need to step back and go, oh yeah, no, I'm definitely in trouble. I'm in a lot of trouble. If that is something that I would find antagonizing towards me, like, it's understandable, right? Like, when you're in the thick of things, man, like, everything feels like a bloody attack. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Everything.
That's actually another thing. Actually another thing. You're 100% correct. Like, you're paranoid when you're in the thick of things. You're paranoid when you're not sleeping well. It goes back to what I was saying about socializing. Recently started going out a bit, right, on certain weekends, because we don't have the baby and we just miss being around other people, miss, just seeing people laughing, experiencing life outside of the two of us and our family. And it is so weird, dude. Like, I will literally, because I'm not getting enough sleep, I'll be out. And I don't know if anyone has experienced this, like, post-lockdown and everything, but I'll be out and people will be having their own conversation and laughing. And like, there's this weird thing in my mind that's like they're laughing at me, or like they're talking about me. And I'm just like, whoa, like, even within those moments, I'm like, no, dude, you just haven't been around people in a while. You're like missing certain cues. Like, maybe somebody's looking at someone behind you and you like, no, they're looking at me. No, like, I don't know. Let me know if anyone else is experiencing this. Post COVID, I am so paranoid when I'm out in social spaces. Yeah. Like, it almost always feels like somebody's saying something, somebody's doing something. Somebody could literally be pointing at a board behind me and it'll feel like they're pointing at me, because I just have had such limited social interactions that I'm missing so many cues. Yeah. I am just missing it. But I have to keep reminding myself.
It's tough having like it's I mean, obviously it's tough when you realize it for yourself and you're like, oh my word, like I'm experiencing this as a result of this, and this is how it's acting out, or this is how I'm
Yes.
acting it out. But I think it's
Yes.
tougher when it's like someone on the outside in your life, obviously, or even just like a rando, like if a random like clocks you, and they're like, hey, listen, you're doing this thing again. And you're just like, oh my word, you know. And sometimes it's hard. We aren't approachable when we're in the thick of our thing.
You
Sometimes,
aren't.
hey, sana work, because you just know that, hey,
You're so defensive.
if I say anything, it's bus. Someone is going to be giving me blows. You know what I mean? If I just say one thing, so you just like, oh well, and sometimes like when we come out of these things that we're sort of in, and you realize that all the things that you've done, or all the ways in which you've behaved, and you're like, oh my God, why did nobody say nothing?
Why didn't anybody uncorrect?
How can they? How can they? How can they? Sometimes we really need to also look at ourselves and go, as in, maybe I built an environment that it was just impossible for anybody.
People scared to quit me. Yes, yes.
And
it's very easy to do that.
Yeah, it's easy.
Because you believe you're protecting yourself, right? You believe that all of these things are happening to you and you don't need somebody else coming in to add one more thing. Yeah. So as soon as somebody comes to you and is like, yo, you actually whiling, it's like, what the hell? How dare you? Above everything else that I'm experiencing, you now have the audacity to say blah blah blah. Because in all situations that we experience, we always believe that like we are holding the most rational perspective within this thing that we're experiencing, and like we're trying our best, right? And like the other person can't feel it, and like we're feeling everything they're doing to us, and they can't feel that we're feeling things. And because sometimes a person doesn't know what they're doing wrong, right? But they can feel that you feeling something, or you're behaving in a way that tells them that you're unhappy, but now they don't know why you're unhappy, so they think that like it's something else. I don't even have the words to fully explain it, but like that miscommunication.
You literally are almost describing the situation that led to the breakdown in my friendship, where it really was a matter of, you know, this person was behaving a certain way. We, as a result, because not just because we were in the same space, but because of codependency as well. Like obviously you're going to you're going to feel it on a different level, right? You're going to be like, oh my God, this is happening, and obviously they are going to feel that you feel it, right? And they could either double down, or then it's like it becomes a volatile space, because they could either double down, or which is what was happening. They would either double down on some days, or on some days, like, you know, you can tell this person is trying to like make up for all those things, and it's also just like, this is very weird, like, can you please stop, you know? And I think obviously there were times where it was communicated like, listen, look, this is what's going on, this is what you're doing, and then it was like, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know, like, I'm actually really grateful. And then chigi either dial it up a notch, or, you know, they go back to the whole thing. And then obviously it reached a point where it was like, you know, we were obviously tired of I can speak for myself, let me rather say, like, I was definitely tired of having to speak. I was like, I'm not going to speak again.
Yes, because now you're an aggressor, right? Yeah, you're an aggressor.
Precisely. I genuinely hate, you know, having to repeat myself in general. But, you know, like, I think we did it a couple of times. And then I think it just got to a point where I was just like, I just can't. There's really only so much I can say. And also having to be around someone who is so deeply unaware of, and we all like that. I think I've absolutely
think we're all deeply unaware of what we're doing wrong.
All of us, we're so deeply unaware of the things that we're doing while we're doing them. And you know, when you don't have and
we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. Like the way I would expect you to give me the benefit of the doubt and to say no, I know Snesipo is not being malicious. Let me speak to her
Yeah.
And then from when she knows how I'm feeling or what's happening, we can then move forward, because
Yes.
excuse me, once I ignore or go back to the behavior that you have described to me as harmful, or as whatever the behavior may be, then okay, no, this person
Yes.
is actually being malicious in this situation.
100%. And it really creates a volatile situation where it's just like one small thing has to happen. Like, I mean, if I were to describe this small, it wasn't small, but the small thing that happened that resulted in the blow up, in the actual, like, actually fuck everything. For some other person, it could be a completely inconsequential thing, right? For other people, obviously, a lot of people understood because they understood like the sequence of events. But I think for someone who maybe didn't know and they just maybe found out from there, it would have been like, why would this be an issue?
What? That's so small.
Whereas you could speak about it, and it's like there's
literally
no space for that anymore.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. And also, it's like, we've spoken to you before. This is adding on to something like bigger,
Yeah.
So I completely get that. But I don't know, man. How do you constantly remind yourself to be understanding of the situation, be understanding of the circumstances, and then weigh out whether or not the reaction that you initially felt was appropriate for what is happening is still appropriate, and whether or not you are going to go ahead with it. Because I think I struggle a lot with that. I think what happens to me is that my toxic trait is that I love too hard. My toxic trait is that I try to be, I think I have found myself, other people who have experienced me may have experienced this very differently, and they have a different perspective of these situations. But I find myself trying to understand too much.
Yeah.
And then at the point where I can't take it anymore, I just completely disengage.
Yes.
Whereas I don't give the person a chance, because in my understanding, I feel like there's a level of enabling and there's a level of it's not even enabling, actually. I think it's a level of not giving the other person enough autonomy within the situation that we find ourselves in, or within our relationship. And I'll explain why. Because someone will keep doing things that I feel like are not right, and I won't bring it up to them because I understand why they're doing those things, right?
Yeah.
Which is wrong.
Yeah.
Firstly, because there's no way that I can fully understand why someone else is doing something unless they tell me that this is what they're doing and this is why they're doing it. Like, it's a very off assumption for me to have that, oh, so-and-so is doing this because of X.
Yeah.
Whereas they could literally be doing it because of Y, because of A. They have so many experiences that I'm not privy to, right? Outside of what I know about them. So that's where it's off to begin with.
Yeah.
And then B, I don't bring these things up like ever, because I'm always trying to avoid conflict, and I'm terrible at setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. And the way that I'll try set boundaries is in a way that will often, I think, make people think that I dislike them.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden they think that I'm withdrawing affection, I'm withdrawing this. Whereas on my end, I feel like I've given too much.
Yes.
And to them, enough. It's like, but this is our norm. Do you get me? So it's like that's where it's faulty again.
Yeah.
And then, like, when a small thing happens, like, well, in the context of the world, right?
Yeah.
Or in the context of somebody who has not had any access to the situation or the person that I'm dealing with or how I've been feeling, when a small thing happens, I just absolutely lose it. I lose it. And literally, you know me, Misho, somebody could literally step on me and I'll be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with so-and-so because of all the other stuff. But it will take that one small thing and I'll be like, they know I like sneakers. They know I like my sneakers clean. Why would they step on me?
Yeah.
That time it literally could be just an innocent mistake at that time. Like, but I will literally just go, why would they step on me?
Yeah.
Why? And that will be for me.
No,
And I
100%.
need help. I need a healthier way of dealing with things. I need help.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Maybe on the next episode or in like a few months' time, I'll come back. I'll have a healthier way of dealing with things. But right now, I really, really need help with setting boundaries, being able to not be embarrassed, because I think sometimes it's so embarrassing to realize that you now feel like you've been overextending yourself.
Yes.
Like, because in my mind, overextending myself literally comes with like I've been having this conversation a lot with myself where I'm like, why do I always find myself in a position where I've overextended myself? Is this like me constantly trying to get acceptance from people? Like, what is it?
So
Do I not think like if I just, it's like, is it a people pleasing thing? Like, or is it like, am I genuinely just a generous person? But if I was just a generous person, I wouldn't feel so much like, I wouldn't feel so ashamed. I wouldn't, I don't know, like, like so few relationships that I have feel reciprocal. Like right now, you know, when you're sitting and you're just reflecting and then you're like, no, man, why do I feel so much shame about the way that my relationship with certain people has been structured for some time?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? What's happening? Like, and I've been trying to get like a fuller picture, get more perspective. And that's when I got to the point where I was like, actually, no, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I'm the problem.
Like, I'm the drama. I think for me, like, it depends. It depends on the situation and like the where and the who. So, I mean, I think I'm a little bit better now at like extending grace, whereas before, like, it may not have been the case. Like, you do this one thing, I'm out. But it's also like a who thing, right? Like, with friends, I'm a little bit like, you know, with friends and family, I'm a little bit like understanding because I know them a bit better. And, you know, in my head, in my head, I'm like, you know, these people know me. So surely they, you know, surely.
But hey, you'll think that, Gandhi, somebody knows you in a way that you never thought anyone would know you in. Do you get like, you think, I don't know, man. Like, what we see in the mirror isn't how we appear. And I feel like it's like that with how people understand us as well. Like, you would think somebody knows you in a certain way. Gandhi, dololo.
Hey, I think, and then, I mean, in the relationship sense, like, I definitely, the first sign of like conflict, I kind of would immediately just be like, this person wants me dead. Like,
I'm out.
Like, I'm out. Peace out. Because you just be, and it's like, my girl, like, where are you going? Where are you going? Why are you? All you can do is just like talk it out, dude. Like, just talk it out. And maybe just that little bit of communication is going to go a long way. It's going to actually, it's going to sort of, you know, help you figure out the whys but it had to do obviously with how comfortable I felt around the other person, and it didn't have anything to do with that person per se. Not always, right? Some people did create an environment where it was like, it's impossible for me to come to you, and this applies to friendships and family as well.
To have this conversation,
but there was also a sense of like, I also created that narrative in my head. If you give a bitch a narrative, you know what I mean? Like, I created that little story in my head, and I'm acting on that. And not so much.
Yes, you're acting on the story you created.
I'm acting on the story I've created, and not what's actually happening. And so it was definitely very humbling for me, like, having to look back. I don't know when I think it was like lockdown times where I had to like step back, and I was like, I'm the drama. I was like, I'm the drama, because yes, fine. I was offended. I felt offended, fine. But deep down inside, I created a narrative, and that narrative,
and I operated based on it.
Exactly. I operated based off of that narrative. And also that narrative has everything to do with how I feel about myself. So it had to do with how worthy I felt I was of certain things, or you know, so many things. Like, it was fed by so many different things. And so,
and you can completely understand that because
yeah,
it was created by you, and
yes.
that was but then in that moment, of your narrative, you could not understand why anyone was reacting to you the way they were reacting.
It's just like,
Same.
why?
I'd be like that.
Like, why would you, like, in my, I'm like, my situation, I'm like this, this is like that, this is that, and the other.
I
And it's like, it's
know.
not about you. It's not just about you, And so, I mean, that's been deeply humbling. But I definitely feel you when you're talking about like that feeling embarrassed and like that shame when you realize just how much grace you've extended. Like the times I've told my friends about,
because I'm like, why was I doing all of this? Like, why was I doing all of this? And
literally,
like when you look at, and just like from like the conversation we had earlier, right?
Yeah.
When you look at how in situations where somebody could have done the same for you, and they had all the resources to do the same for you, and they chose to do different because they felt like they needed to preserve themselves for something else.
Yeah.
And like you wouldn't have preserved yourself for something else, and you haven't multiple times. I'm so embarrassed. I'm sitting here like feeling so ashamed. Like what is wrong with me that I can't preserve myself for something else? Like what why do I want so much acceptance from this person? Why do I want,
Yeah. And I mean, even having other people tell you that like, dude, do you realize just how much grace?
Yes.
Yeah, just how much, and you're like, oh my word. Like, you're just like, yo. And I mean, it doesn't mean that I see myself as this like great, amazing, good person, right? Like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's just a matter of why did I do that? Like I should have acted earlier on. Instead of it also goes back to that where I also felt a bit of shame about giving someone a benefit of the doubt, because when you look at stuff in retrospect and you're like, oh my God, this person hated me. Like, and to me, I was just making up all these excuses. And frankly, you know what? It had nothing to do with them. It had to do with me. Sometimes I don't blame them. I blame myself.
And also, sometimes it's like you look at yourself and you see that it's like almost thinking that I'm such a good judge, judge of character. There's no ways I would have anyone in my life who would not have good intentions for me. So I have to now craft this narrative of this person has good intentions, or this person is experiencing A, B, C, D. That's why they're behaving in X, Y, and Z. That time,
a rat is a rat, Sana. This person wants you gone. And like it sounds cynical. Also, like there's obviously a balance at the end of the day. Like we're not saying that you cannot be completely cynical, and then you cannot be overly naive, right? Like you can't. There has to be it's a situational thing, it's a circumstantial thing. There has to be a middle ground in there some way, and also perspective, right? And sometimes perspective means like, I mean, I was actually going to ask you, how do you then deal with that? And I mean, just to answer to begin with, I talk about it with other people. Like I will talk to someone else. I'll be like, listen, this is the case. This is what's going on. Like, was it me? Am I the drama? Or like, what is going on? I think
I don't know. I think
other people helps with perspective.
Yes, it does a lot. And at the same time, I think it's so important to also consult with other people once you're at a place where you fully have the language for what you've experienced with certain things. Because it's very easy for, like, when I know with a lot of things that I feel ashamed about, if I speak to someone before I've wrapped my head around it, to not obviously 100% perfect, it's very easy for me to be influenced by what that person is saying, and for that to then add on to the narrative. And like for me to get to the true experience of what I'm actually experiencing takes so long, guys. Like you don't have to experience something today and then when you have a conversation with somebody else tomorrow, it's already been solved. It can literally take 10 years. It can literally take 20 years, because getting to the true experience of an experience is not always like this. It can take so long, because we perform so much. Like it stripping ourselves of performance takes so long because we've been performing for so long.
Yeah.
Like it is absolutely wild. The other day I was thinking about, why do I hate lies so much?
Yeah.
And it's like, you literally find yourself, no, oh my gosh, like maybe lies aren't something that I hate as much as I think I hate, because of how I've been conditioned to think that if you have a person with morals, then you cannot stand a lie.
Yeah.
Or if you're a person with morals, you cannot. And like my whole life, I've been performing this thing of, oh my gosh, I hate liars. I hate, like there's so many things where you're like, am I this way because this is genuinely something that I 100% dislike, or do I believe that the kind of person that I see as a good person is a person that doesn't like, that likes this, and at the end of the day, nothing is without influence, right? There's also nothing without influence, so there's nothing wrong with that. But it's important to interrogate. Actually, I think we should leave it at that question.
That is a damn good question.
I think we should leave it at that question.
You guys let us know.
Will let us know. But one last announcement before load shedding, before our laptops die, is that you need to like, comment, and subscribe, and that in here one, and that we will be dropping merch, and you can expect a survey this week. So if you didn't listen to the end of the episode, I don't know. Sorry, guys.
I'm not going to repeat it. Oh well.
Exactly. That is all.
Please DM us. If you heard your name, DM us.
Yes, if you heard your name, DM us so that you can get your package.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. Actually, thank you guys so much for receiving us so well. This is like, it's really beautiful. Yay. Bye guys. Cool.